Happy Friday. I hope you're having a great day. We're back here with the Friendship War. We are on chapter 15. It's called Long Distance. And we have a little conversation between Grace and her grandpa. You there, Grandpa? Yep, how are you? I'm good, you? All good here. Picked the last of the tomatoes all afternoon. Sitting down now feels great. So, I've got a question about buttons. What a surprise! Do you think Grandma kept any buttons around the house? Do you still have some of her stuff, right, Grandpa? Sorry, yes, I still have all of her things. Maybe in her upstairs sitting room. Haven't been there for quite some time. Oh, well, never mind. I've got plenty of buttons. I took a picture last week of the ones we have here in our house, and then yesterday I went with this boy named Hank to a thrift shop, and we found a huge tin of buttons, all from this one family over a long time. So I'm kind of interested in comparing in buttons. Here's a pic I took of our Hamlin family buttons, and here's a pic from the thrift store. So here's the ones that were at her house, and then here's the ones that her and Hank found at the thrift store. So they found tons. Interesting, huh? Very. Sort of like little graveyards. When a button drops off, you pop it in the graveyard. That's way too gloomy, Grandpa, but yeah, I get that. Still, I just call each group a collection. Collection, final resting place, graveyard. Pretty much all the same thing. Just being accurate, Gracie. But mostly gloomy and sad. I can hear your voice when we text, and you know that, right? Maybe. Let's call them time capsules. I like that. Family button time capsule. Yes, much easier and nicer. This Hank fellow, would I approve? Definitely. Even Dad likes him. That's quite impressive. Details, if you don't mind. You remember Ellie, right? Of course, an unforgettable Miss Emerson. Well, we're not best friends anymore, or even friends at all, and Hank used to be on her approved list, but then he totally ditched her and stuck with me instead. That's all about there is to it. I like him already. He's really smart, collects butterflies and moths, and now buttons, diving deep. 14 monarch butterflies passed through our garden 3 days after you left, going to Mexico, and it'll take them 2 or 3 generations to even get there. Anyway, so amazing. Your grandmother planted those 4 purple butterfly bushes along the garden fence, remember? The monarchs and even swallowtails can't resist the blooms. Such a treat, even now. I hear your voice again, Grandpa. Sorry, you still miss her so much. Me too. Yes, you too. I'm glad my neighbors don't live close, because they'd hear me talking to her now and then. In the way you hear my voice when we text, I can still hear hers too. And guess what? She tells me the same things you do. Stop being sad, keep being grateful, and that self-pity nonsense, knock it off. Haha, I can hear her saying that too. But things are better. The old mill building is just what I need right now. I've got my first big meetings with contractors coming up this week, and I can't wait to send you the specs for the solar panels I'm installing on the roof. Wonderful progress. And not as much time to be sad. I'm so glad. I love that place. You know what the building was like before you got a hold of it? What? A graveyard. Haha, good one. You got me back. How about your week? Big stuff coming there? Projects, reports, holding hands with Hank? So funny, Grandpa. No, nothing much coming this week, except this button thing. It turned into this huge fad at school, totally goofy, and I have no idea where it's all going. Wherever it goes, I have this hunch that you'll be right there in the middle of it. Take good notes and keep me in the loop. Is your giant cache of buttons still a secret? You, me, Mom, Dad, and Ben. That's it. I won't tell a soul. Good. I love you, Grandpa. I love you too, Gracie. Have a happy night. And you take good notes too and keep me in the loop about your mill building, okay? Will do, I promise. Good night. Chapter 16, Easier. You're kind of quiet this morning. Just thinking. I can tell that Mom wants me to talk more, but I know she's not going to push it. She's good with silence. And anyway, if I talk to her, I don't think she'd like what I have to say. I'm still kind of stuck on graveyards ever since I texted with Grandpa last night. He was so sad about Grandma. When I asked Mom if she would drive me this morning, she said, sure, no questions asked. I went to avoid the scene on the bus. I feel like gangs of button maniacs would pounce on me, looking for trades. Of course, I don't actually know if buttons are even still a thing. Maybe over the weekend, everybody decided that buttons are dumb. Maybe there's a new fad that I don't know about, some online craze that lit up the screens, blasting the buttons out of every single kid's head. Right back into all the little button graveyards. So, where do you think Grandma is right now? Mom smiles a little, her eyes on the traffic, but it's like my question doesn't surprise her one bit. I don't know, Grace, not for sure. If you're asking me if your grandmother is still herself, still somewhere, then I would say yes. I believe she is, but I don't know that. The same way I know that the sun comes up every morning, then no. I don't know it like that. Then how do you believe she's still herself? Are you saying you think Grandma's still alive but somewhere else, like heaven? We backed up at a stoplight now, moving ahead only a little with each green signal, and Mom is thinking before she answers me. I don't recall if I've ever told you this before. I was about 20 years old, and in one of my college courses, the professor asked the whole class to close our eyes and sit very still. And she asked, is it possible for you to imagine what the world you've known your whole life isn't there anymore? And I decided I would imagine that. No problem. Then she said, is it possible for you to imagine your physical body is not sitting in a chair in some classroom, that your body isn't really anywhere in this world at all? And again, that was pretty easy for me to imagine. Then she asked, is it possible for you to imagine the part of you is doing all this imagining could just stop and never think of anything at all ever again? After about a minute of sitting there thinking, I decided I could not imagine it at all. Not at all. Those are some weird questions. I agree. It turned out to be our professor was borrowing them from a philosopher named Descartes, and we went on a study of a lot of his writings. But I never forgot that moment, and I believe that Grandma is still herself, still thinking and still loving you and Ben and your dad and me and Grandpa. So, you're saying people don't really die when they die? I'm saying that I think I can see how that would be possible. Do I know it for sure? No. And I guess I won't completely know any of this for sure until that moment when I die, or rather, when I don't die, when I figure out that I haven't stopped thinking or stopped being myself. Where I will be at that moment, or where any of that will be like, I have no idea. Not yet. So this is a theory. Correct. Just a theory. I'm quiet and the traffic starts moving again. Mom reaches over and pats my arm. Pretty deep for a sunny Monday morning. Yeah, sorry. Don't apologize. I love the way you think and think and think. Always have, always will. Thanks. We have another quiet stretch for her next question. Did I hear you tell Dad that you and Ellie are having some troubles? Uh-huh, at least right now. Sorry to hear that. You two have been friends for a long time. Yeah. I don't say more because I don't know if there's anything else to say. But I do think of a question. Of all the kids you knew back when you were in 6th grade, are any of them still your friends? No, not a single one. My family moved from Ohio to Massachusetts, then from Massachusetts to Illinois, and then back to a different town in Massachusetts, all before I graduated from high school. Wow, that's a lot of moving. It's hard to keep in touch with school friends. I know I could track down some of them if I wanted to, but once you lose contact, there are fewer reasons to pick up the threads again. And I was out of high school before Facebook and texting and all that came along. Now, it's a lot easier. Yeah, totally. Easier. Easier is a very nice idea. There are about 100 things I wish I would get easier right now, right this second. Except wishing isn't scientific. Isn't that Hank Powell standing near the door? We're pulling to the drop-off area at the front of the school, and Mom's right. That's him. Say hello to him for me, will you? Sure. And have a wonderful day, Grace. You know you're always telling your father to stop worrying. Take your own advice, okay? Okay, thanks for the ride. You're welcome. I love you, Grace. I love you too. Bye. As the car pulls away, Hank sees me and waves, a smile on his face. I smile back, partly just to be friendly, but there's another reason to my smile. I can see that walking into the school this morning is going to be better than I thought it would be. It's going to be easier. Chapter 17, The Catalyst. I made 6 fantastic trades on the bus. These are Hank's first word of the new week. Not, hi, great to see you. Not, hi, how are you? So I'm guessing the button things is still going strong, at least for him. I've never seen Hank so totally hyper. On Friday, I saw some guys who had made these bunches of buttons with little twist ties. So I made myself 20 of them using the junky buttons we found on Saturday. Duplicates and stuff. Yeah, I noticed those kids too. So anyway, this morning, I was looking for anything special in the bunches they had. Sometimes just one button out of a whole set, and if I spotted a good one, then I would offer to trade 2 bunches for 1 bunch, just to get that particular button. And it worked like magic. But the best part, after I take 1 button I want from a bunch, then I add an extra button to fill it back up. And just like that, I've got another bunch of 10 to trade with. Pretty great, huh? I nod, but I'm also doing math in my head, because what Hank just described makes a really neat equation. 20 bunches minus the 2 bunches he trades leaves 18. But then he adds 1 bunch back, which makes 19. Minus the 2 bunches leaves 17. But then he adds 1 back to make 18, and so on. All the way down to the one last single bunch left. There's a special name for that kind of math progression. Maybe recursive? Hank says, right now I've still got 14 bunches left, and I've already made 6 trades, and 3 of my new buttons are amazing. I'm going to be able to trade 2 bunches for just 1 bunch, 19 times. Isn't that great? It is, really smart. Hank's now got me grinning now. I can't help it. Ben went nuts over his new clarinet, and Grandpa was excited about the old mill, and Hank is almost exploding. He takes a deep breath, and he looks embarrassed. I hope it wasn't some weird look on my face just now to make him feel that way. He calms himself down, almost serious. But I'm going to have to cool it until after homeroom. Mr. Scott has a new rule, no buttons in his room. So remember that before you go to language arts. What about you? Got any button plans for today? Not really, but I'll keep my eyes open. That's what I say, but the truth is, I'm just not into the button thing today. But I'm very curious to see what's up with the fad, and I promised Grandpa I'd take good notes. We head toward the 6th grade hall, and the first thing I notice is those boys don't have any button bunches hooked to their belts today. The bunches are on short loops of cord now, which makes sense. All those clumps hanging everywhere, way too awkward. I spot 5 different groups of 2nd and 3rd grade kids along the corridor, comparing handfuls of buttons and trading, which means button fever is spreading to the younger grades. Your little sister, what grade is she in now? I groaned to Hank. 3rd. I finally convinced my mom that I had to have a lock on my door. Hannah is driving me nuts. Has she claimed some of the family buttons so she can bring them to school? Is she into collecting like you are? No way. Not interested at all. She's more of a mad scientist type. Last week, she pulled the heads and arms and legs off of 5 of her dolls so she could switch them around all onto different bodies. My mom got pretty freaked out, but I told her not to worry. It's actually a smart way to mix up a boring doll collection. Now she has 5 new little Frankenstein dolls. That gets me laughing, and I tried to recall if Ellie ever made me laugh like this. Yes, only not as often. Do I want to compare Hank with Ellie? No, but it keeps happening. All right, have a great Friday, enjoy your weekend, and I'll be back on Monday to continue the friendship war.